So, welcome everybody. We've got another week of Streaming Sunday ahead of us. Um, First of all, it's great to see we've got a bunch of people now on here. I'm actually peeking out, probably one of our highest playbacks at the time. So, congrats to all those people that are coming back out, as well as for those of us that are those of you that are coming out for the first time. So my name, in case you don't know or who haven't met me yet, because I know there's a bunch of you out there, is Matthew Potter. I run the HTML Toronto group, and we're hoping to have a lot more of this content on a regular basis. So without further ado, I'd like to just jump into this. And like the last Sunday streaming or the streaming Sundays that we used to do, I'd like to do a lot more content only driven. So we're going to be focusing on that. First and foremost, though, there is a couple things I do want to get out the way ahead of time that are kind of event-based that are related to what we're doing, related to HTML Toronto and web development on a whole. First and foremost, actually, let me just switch over to a different camera here and over to a different page. I guess I should have set this up beforehand. Essentially, coming this... Coming up in 2 weekends from now, we have in Toronto an accessibility camp. So if you're not aware, the Ontario government, the Canadian government soon, the US government has a bunch of mandates coming through for accessibility and requirements on sites. The Accessibility Toronto group has had a big part of what we're doing, has obviously come out to speak for us. They have an event coming up on the 16th of November. If you can't make it out to this one, the HTML Toronto group is actually partnering with them to live stream the primary event, the primary group for that. So if you can't make it out, we will be live streaming it. If you can make it out, I do recommend checking it out. It's on the 16th of November, so that's not this weekend, it's the following one. And then the only other thing I really wanted to bring up tonight, there's a couple more maybe I'll mention afterwards, but the other important thing that's key and crucial for you guys to know about is actually the PHP North conference that's happening. I believe it's actually starting on Thursday this week. So Thursday, Friday, Saturday. Great organization team, great person that's doing that. Again, tickets for going for that. It's a 3-day conference. It is, I think, a $250 for 2 days. Sorry. So the 7th, 8th, and 9th of this coming week. It does apply because obviously with PHP, that's applying to the stack development that we're going to be talking about today. So that being said, I just wanted to quickly go over some of the stuff that you're likely been hearing for the stack, right? So I don't know how much you know, how much you don't know, but you're here, so let's absolutely dive in. Essentially, although it's not a web technology or a HTML technology, a lot of the stack and the back-end platforms really are what web technologies rely upon. Right. So currently, the way that our systems work and the way that the platforms really work right now is we have a different layout in which we work, right? A different way that the server communicates. So you'll see here at the top, we've got a LAMP system. And then at the bottom here, which we'll be going through afterwards, we have this mean system. So LAMP stands for Linux, Apache, MySQL, or MariaDB, depending upon who you ask, and PHP, at least for the most part. There is obviously Python and Perl as well, which I did put. Yes, I did put. But it is primarily PHP right now, and secondarily, obviously, all these other technologies. Aside from that, we also have different things in there, such as markup, interactive, and design, which are more of probably what you guys are generally dealing with, right? That's your front-end stuff. The LAMP side is the back-end stuff. But if you're going for a job interview, or you're going to start a new job, or you are working on a new project, you generally have to think about what is the stack that I'm building upon, or what are you used to? Are you used to the LAMP stack? Are you used to a WAMP stack? Which, granted... I gotta apologize here. I put LAMP down here, but there is a WAMP stack as well. Now, WAMP stands for Windows Apache. Then instead of MySQL, although Windows can run MySQL, they do have an MS SQL or a Microsoft SQL, which same thing, a very similar language, but more driven towards working with something like a .NET framework. And with the WAMP as well, it's more Perl and Python for that. Actually, I don't even think you can run those, but don't quote me. I'm a LAMP guy for PHP, so unfortunately I don't know the Windows.NET stuff. But I'm hoping to change that, actually. In fact, over the course of the next probably several months, I'm going to be showcasing and doing different things as, for examples, on the Streaming Sunday here, using, I believe it's the Azure platform to just show the walking steps through, or the steps to walk through creating the different stacks for that. But the second set, which we'll compare this to, is the mean stack, right? And we'll go over more detail shortly. But a brief overview, we have MongoDB, Express.js, AngularJS, and Node.js. Those are what accumulates to the mean stack. Now, there are some variations of this. For instance, MongoDB, you can switch out for something like the CouchDB. They're both very, very similar, but they they have slight variations in them. It's what's commonly referred to as the NoSQL method, which is a non-conforming table structure, which is what MySQL generally is. Nonetheless, have a LAMP stack right now. Now, I'm sure probably many of you, anybody who's been doing a shared web hosting on some server, be it IX web hosting, be it GoDaddy, say Media Temple, well, maybe not Media Temple, but probably any of those ones that you're generally on a shared hosting from, they're probably running a LAMP stack. So you have Linux, Apache, MySQL, and then PHP or one of the other scripting languages. And how that breaks down, if you're new to this, if you're somebody that doesn't do a lot of front-end stuff, is you have a Linux platform, which is your server. It's like your computer, right? Runs your operating system. Apache, which says the server or gives instructions to the server for when it gets a connection, go do these different things at this different location or run this script. MySQL, which is your data-centric and your database of information. So if you're storing, say, blog posts, for instance, or records for a store, you'd put that into a database. And then I'm going to stop doing the Python, Perl, whatever. But for PHP, you would use this as your scripting language to say, hey, you've received this instruction. You want to go do this, and then present the information. So how that ends up working is, I'm actually just going to swap out so I can see some comments here. Hey, good morning, everybody here. I'm definitely seeing some more Harry Potter. Thank you. So essentially, the scripting language, or PHP in general, says you're writing some code in there to perform some actions with the information that you're getting from the database, or some predefined actions, and then writing HTML within that script to do things like looping, to do things like templating. So you'd have things like CodeIgniter or Expression Engine or WordPress that would give you the ability to write a set of instructions so that every time somebody hits the page, it knows what to do for that, and then presents a view for each one of those different actions. It saves you some time, and it saves you some effort when you're programming this stuff as well. This is commonly done under an MVC method, which is a model, views, and controllers. For anybody that, again, new to this or trying to get into this, models, views, and controllers aren't really a new thing, but they are in the web world in regards to within the last several years, probably 5-6 years now, where it says, hey, I'm a controller. You write a controller that when you hit a page and Apache says, hey, I'm going to go to this location, the controller then has all these instructions to say, hey, I know what you need to do, and you've given me all of the information that I need to do it, hopefully. I'm going to go out to these models, and I'm going to get this information and perform different actions, and then I'm going to take all that information and then put it to a view. And the reason why you have this MVC is because the model and the functions can be done separately and can be done, say, in different controllers. For instance, a post page for WordPress or for a blog post. You can have it so that, hey, give me the posts, right? And if you send no information to it, then it sends you all the posts. If you say, give me the posts, but limit it to 10, then it'll, same function, same thing that you're doing. The difference is now you're saying, okay, only grab me 10. And the model knows how to do that. And then it takes that information and it puts it to a view. So you're not having to rewrite a bunch of stuff. That's why we use MVC. I'm trying to avoid coughing into the mic here. And then when you're writing the view, you're using PHP to say, take the variables and then present that and write that within some HTML tags, right? So that's the way that the LAMP stack has worked up till now. But more recently, as in even within the last couple of years, we now have mean, which in fact, the mean stack itself is probably not even a year old yet, where you have MongoDB, as I was saying. That's where you store all of that information, the data, and it's stored somewhat differently. MySQL databases are generally stored where you have a table of data, like you have an Excel sheet, or an Excel sheet that has multiple different sheets inside of it. And then you can reference those different things back and forth to one another. The way that MongoDB and CouchDB and all these NoSQL platforms work is it has these index keys where you say, I want to go capture this information, but using this as a key, like first name, last name, email address, similar to what you do with an index. But the difference is that you can predefine and preset up a lot of the structure without it being in static tables. So it's really efficient because, first and foremost, it's not using static index keys and you're referencing multiple tables. It's a single long thing. You can actually have sub-objects. So let me step back a bit, literally and metaphorically, and not cough into the microphone, and bring up where the whole point and why the mean stack is so efficient and so effective is because you'll notice here in the graphic, the majority of these are all based upon JavaScript. So MongoDB, although isn't JavaScript, uses a very, very similar method to what is known as JSON. So most of you are probably using JSON nowadays, either through APIs, through different calls, different servers, even writing it for your JavaScript applications. It's using a very similar structure to the data, and in fact translates directly from one to the other. Objects, arrays, integers, strings, blobs, text inputs, all of those things are put into MongoDB as they are. In fact, even with curly braces, when you output it and go into something like Terminal or a platform for you to go and visualize that, it's very, very similar to JSON. In fact, you could almost say it's a one-to-one relationship between JSON and MongoDB. Express.js is that framework. Remember what I was saying about that you have the MVC? Express.js is a JavaScript framework that sits on top of Node.js. Now, without going into too much detail, because you can always go into the nodejs.org documents and find out more information, how to install. I believe the current version is 10.21, if I'm not mistaken. But it's 0.10.21. It's not at version 1 yet. They're still doing a lot of stable building or building the stuff up for stable. But essentially, Express.js is like scripts that you put inside of the Node.js framework. So it acts like an MVC. You can write views, models, controllers, and it allows you to do that. And then we have AngularJS, which acts very similar to what something like PHP would, where it's the language that you can write for your views that acts like a web platform and a templating application where you create your loops in there, you create your instructions for doing things with different information, assigning things out to different blocks of text. For instance, again, if it was a blog post, you'd be able to create a blog post template in Angular and associate those different tags with information that you're getting from the Express, right? All those different variables from your models and controllers, put that into an Angular variable or an object within Angular and translate directly into that and then be able to template that out. Now, this is probably an oversimplification, but I wanted to give you a quick heads up and a quick overview, really, of the differences between the two. And if you haven't started taking a look at something like Mean, I want you to seriously take a look. There's a website, I believe it's mean.org, if I'm not mistaken. It is, of course I have it. It is mean, actually, .io. So mean.io. If you want to take a look, it's actually this here. So mean.io allows you to go in, see what they're all talking about. There's prerequisites, there's instructions on how to install different things. You can actually install this on your local computer, be it a Mac or a PC, and then try it out. Experiment. If you break it, that's fine. It's not a real platform, or it's not a real on the server platform. So you're not going to impact anything. So with that being said, I'm going to switch over, see if there's any comments. I do see that there's a few, but it's nothing that's been current, so I'm going to give it probably about 30 seconds. And while I wait for the comments to catch up, I want to ask you guys a couple of things. First of all, have you tried using the mean stack yet, or at least a variant of it? For instance, no express or no angular, or are you doing anything that is similar to it where you're just running Node.js in the background, but you haven't added the other stuff to it yet? Do you have an interest in this? Or is it something that you want to take a look and just improve your skills on for, say, the LAMP stack, right? What are you using right now? So now that it's almost caught up, the other thing I wanted to show you guys and really walk you guys through, or at least give you guys a heads up about. There's an interesting event going on Tuesday. I'm going to be helping out with, but it's called Pechakucha. If you have an interest, it's essentially just a bunch of development or developers for this round doing 20 slides in 20 seconds. So I told the organizer, I give him a good shout. I give her a good shout out. Pechakucha, Pechakucha. Really cool thing, international events throughout the world, and the Toronto place has been up for quite a while. They do almost monthly events, but yeah, check them out. So looking at the comments, I am not seeing anything just yet, so I'm going to probably assume that you guys don't have any comments for that, but I am always here. I will be looking for more later on. I will be looking in the comments and maintaining throughout after this this event goes ending. But if you have any other questions, comments, things that you'd like to bring up, things that you'd like to discuss, I'm always here, as well as if you have any ideas for shows. Right? If there's something you want to deep dive into, let me know. Other than that, I will likely see you guys next week with another fine edition of Streaming Sunday. Hopefully to see you guys all here and shining faces. So have a great week and happy November, apparently. Where did this year go?